maybe just, are you going to be at that meeting? No. March 1st. Oh.
You call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer,
Here.
Mr. Lowry, Mr. Rupel,
Here.
Mr. Schulz,
Here.
Mr. Smolik,
Here.
Mr. Ziegler,
Here.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Here.
Moving on to looking for motion up to the minutes of the January 18, 2023 combined meeting.
To approve.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Smolik, seconded by Councilman Lowry. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry, Mr. Rupel,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
Thank you. Moving on, minutes of the February 6, 2023 council meeting.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lowry, seconded by Councilman Fenstermaker. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Rupel,
Yes.
Mr. Schulz,
Yes.
Mr. Smolik,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to department reports, start with Chief Hutton.
Thank you, Mr. President. No formal report tonight. I will advise you guys, I'm sure you saw the fire in Willoughby at the apartments on Menor Avenue. Kirtland, of course, is one of the first responders on that as auto aid. The guys were very busy. It's actually, probably one of the fires of a lifetime that those guys will ever deal with. And unfortunately, I was out of town, so I missed it. But I was talking to Mr. Rupel, and I know we had fire debris at Station 2, and I know people have found fire debris as far as Rocking Horse, and we've heard Geauga County. So if you saw the plume, there's a video of the plume like a weather radar, and it takes it right through Kirtland, and it's pretty impressive. And if anyone wants it, I can text it to you. It's pretty cool. One other thing, as we're talking about capital, I met with Mayor and Mr. Slapnicker when we were talking about budget and with coffee with council when I was at that meeting, talked about fire engine, and we did write a grant. Actually, Captain Ponzani wrote a grant, and the cost of the engine has gone from $381 for a base engine in 2018 all the way up to $775 is where we're at with the price increases. So we wrote the grant. The grant's at about $775. Take about a year. It takes some time, but it's our best shot. And it's a need. It's a need that the fire department has and a financial need for the city. So we'll see how that goes. On the agenda tonight, we have Christine Spees and Amy Buchanan on for the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Fund. That's something we do every year. Council has to appoint people to the board, and that's for our part-time firefighters, are considered volunteers in Ohio. And if anything were to happen where they were killed or injured in the line of duty, it takes care of that. So other than that, I'm open for any questions.
Chief, for a big fire like that, basically just kind of get it surrounded. I mean, it was so well, do you even try to really put it out as opposed to just to, how do you go about something like that when it's that well involved by the time you guys got there?
Well, in this case, the fire was probably 50 to 75% involved when Chief Unger arrived. He was the first on scene. And you're looking at exposure protection. You know, if we had a fire that size, one of our buildings, that fire is a lost cause. So you're protecting all the exposures, the other buildings. You know, there were, I think he said 54 cars that were lost in the parking lot at that fire. And, you know, our crews, as they responded up there, our shift commander, he was rerouted as they're coming down Kirtland Road. He was rerouted into Andrews School, Andrews Osborne, because it was a firestorm blowing across the road. They had embers, debris landing on all the buildings. So they sent our shift commander over there to do recon, and they ended up sending, you know, multiple units and ladder trucks to get up on the roof at Andrews. Our squad crew that responded, normally they do EMS, and they're the EMS crew. They got there, they set up their EMS area, and immediately they're like, guys, get to work. They put out multiple car fires. All the cars started, you know, igniting around them. So they had to grab the hose lines and put all the car fires out while they were working on that building. So it was, you know, it was pretty impressive. And fortunately, nobody was injured. I mean, it's a miracle. And, you know, great job done by all. It was 3 alarms. So you had fire departments all the way from Madison to, you know, Mayfield Heights and probably Beechwood there in Euclid.
Imagine no clue what started it. Do they have any?
I don't know yet. I have not heard.
Thanks, Chief.
Any other questions? All right, thank you. Chief McAllister?
Thank you, Council President Rupel. I have no formal report tonight, but I am open for any questions.
Any questions? All right, get off easy. Mr. Fernaro?
Good evening. I'm going to follow suit. No formal report, but I would like to thank Chief Hutton and the fire department. They hosted our crew on Tuesday for first aid, CPR, and AED. So we really appreciate it. The guys did a great job. Also, remind everybody we got a little taste of winter back today. You know, with all the good weather, just remember we're still in winter. So slow down, patience, give our guys a lot of room. And I would ask for you to pass ordinance 23-0-7 tonight, ODNR grant. That would be helpful. And that completes my report.
Mr. Farnar, the rocks on Billings Road by is it Dorchester Farm, you know, where they're right by this. I know we've pushed them back once, but is there any intentions of getting those pushed back either further or away?
We pushed them out of the right of way. We could see what we did.
I still see somebody. I mean, it is narrow, and people swerve in that way quite a bit. Somebody's gonna lose it and hit a boulder. Thank you.
Anyone else? All right, thank you. Mr. Courtney?
Thank you very much. I'll try and keep it quick tonight. The 23 streets and 10-year street plan, we're working through all of that now. Should have something for the next meeting. Old Town sewer improvements. Commissioners are expected to award that contract tomorrow at their meeting. And we will report the anticipated construction schedule once it's received from the contractor. The ODOT bridge projects. The Chillicothe Road Bridge, ODOT received no bids for that project, so it's going to be rebid later this year. And it has been pushed to construction in 2024. As a result of that, the State Route 6 bridge in Willoughby Hills has been pushed to 2025 construction. Stormwater project, Fox Hill, Joe and I are trying to get a pre-con set up next week for that project. Still expected to start in mid-March. And no update on Rockwood or Parkwood. That completes my report. If we can take any questions.
Questions?
The Booth Road Bridge is still on schedule for this year.
Doug, quick question. So, is there any concern of 306 Bridge or the Route 6 Bridge based on the fact that we decide we're not going to do it just because nobody bid on it, we'll move it out? I mean, is there like an end date that these bridges will no longer be safe to drive on? Just a rhetorical question, probably.
If it were in that condition where it was imminent failure, I'm sure the bridges would be closed.
We'll find out. We'll find out. Any other questions? Thank you. Mr. Slapnicker, and by the way, thank you for our detailed meeting, which started at 6, the finance meeting. We appreciate all your efforts as always. But do
Thank
have
you,
any
Council
other
President.
report?
Thank you. Yeah, so we've been quite busy in the finance department, as expected at this time of the year, with closing out the year and getting this budget going. I just want to thank the staff in the finance department for sticking with it and getting all of our financial reporting done. So a big thank you to them. Our gap conversion has started, which is our conversion from our cash basis of accounting to our financial records that will be audited by the auditor of state. So we've been providing a lot of documents to them as well. Something that I reported in our first finance meeting as it relates to the budget, the city was awarded $75,000 from the county as part of the senior levy. In addition to that, we were awarded an additional $50,000 to be used at that senior center. We have 3 pieces of legislation in the finance department that is on the agenda. We have the appropriations, the transfer of funds, and an ordinance for the issuance and sale of the $3,102,000 of notes. Those will go 3 readings. And I look forward to our next finance meeting prior to next council meeting. That concludes my report. I'm available for any questions.
Louis, just once again, I want to thank you. I know the data gets better every year, but it's much easier. Great presentation today, so thanks.
Thank you.
The councilman's approving of your excellent work in there. I've been doing, this is my 8th one, and it just gets better every year. It's phenomenal how much more detail, literally just open this thing up and you kind of can figure everything out on your own. You don't need anybody to kind of walk you through it. So thank you so much.
Thank you.
What else? I guess over to you, Mr. Lalo.
Thank you, Mr. Council President. Just a couple points on the agenda today. 23R6 is a resolution authorizing the city to opt in on some other national opioid settlements. There is a requirement for us to opt in to be eligible for any of those funds. In the legislation, I did put the maximum amount of the settlements for each of those different companies. Like one of them is $3.34 billion over 13 years, and it all depends on state participation and the local level participation as well. I did confirm that the state of Ohio did opt in, so then that triggers our need to opt in as well. So Ohio is participating. If we want to receive any of these funds, I would strongly suggest that we opt in and do that. There is a deadline. I believe April 18th is the absolute deadline for that. So if you wanted, it could wait, but it is waiting for me to e-sign a document to formally get the city opted in. Aside from that, I know the Utilities Committee, the Public Utilities Committee did meet and asked me to review some of our ordinances as it relates to how to ensure that these homes are going to pay their fines or fees or what have you, and to tweak some of the language. I've proposed a couple different rewrites of that to some of the members of the committee, and Mr. Fornaro as well, and Mr. Courtney, I believe. I think, I'm not sure how the committee wants to proceed, if they want to review it in-house first and then refer it out to council or what, but we can expect something coming down the pipe in the next probably month or two as it relates to a few different modifications to those ordinances. Aside from that, I don't believe I have anything else to offer unless you have questions for me.
Mr. Lallo, for 23R6 then, waive 3 or let it go to a second, would you like? What would you like
It's,
to
it's
see?
purely your call. That email for the DocuSign, it's in my inbox. So it's on my radar. It's your call how you want to proceed with it.
Mr. Lallo, any idea of what type of share the city would receive? It's undetermined at this point.
Undetermined. It all depends on how many jurisdictions opt in, and then they could go from there.
So an answer on this is probably a year out once it's,
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
thank you.
correct. But at least this makes us eligible to receive funds. But yeah, I mean, one of them's 3.34 billion, another one is 2.02 billion, CVS is 4.9 billion, Walgreens 5.52, Walmart 2.74, and it's all over the payment of between 6 and 15 years. Spreading those out.
Generally, that would be done, if, say, everybody opted in the state, you would just divide Ohio's, whatever, 10 million residents into that by city, and you would get proportion based on your population for the city. Is that generally how that would work?
Not knowing how the formula is set up, it's tough to even give you a guess or educated guess on it.
So just to be clear, tonight, there's no reason we cannot pass R8 and R9, which is just reappointing Speece and Buchanan, as well as opting into the opioid and, of course, accepting the capital improvement. And we could pass all those this evening.
Those could all be
without
passed
any
this
issue.
evening. That is correct.
I just want to make sure. Anything for Mr. Lallo? All right. Thank you very much. Mayor Potter?
Thank you, Council President Rupel. So first, I want to just received last week the resignation letter from Mr. Bob Murch. He's been on our BZA for 45 years. So I want to thank Mr. Murch for his, it's incredible 45 years of service. I can't imagine that anyone else has spent that kind of time spending, on a single board here in the city. So we'll be looking to appoint somebody else for that BZA spot. And on March 26th, the Shamrock Shuffle, the 5K race, will be taking off here from City Hall, followed by, I think there's a couple of musical presentations, one being a band, another solo performance, as well as I think Murphy's Irish Dancers will be here. And Kiwanis, again this year, has sponsored a beer tent out front here for after the race. I suppose some people should wait till after the race. Kiwanis, also pancake breakfast at the Lake Farm Park. About a couple months ago, somebody from the farm park reached out to me and asked if I thought Kirtland Kiwanis would be interested in working the farm park pancake breakfast, kind of heading it up and taking that over. So there's gonna be 2 different weekends on March 4th and March 5th, and then the 11th and the 12th from 8:30 to 3:30 p.m. I don't typically eat pancakes after, say, 11:30, but I guess people do up until 3:30. Anyhow, it's a great chance for people to come out and support Kiwanis. Kiwanis is going to, hopefully reap a fair amount of proceeds from that. And thanks to the farm park for thinking of us and thinking of Kiwanis. Thank you. I think it was already said, but I do want to thank Louis for the level of detail that he can provide, or he provides in these budget worksheets. Really makes the process, obviously very legible, and he articulates it so well. Well, thanks for that time beforehand. Look forward to the next meeting where we'll also be talking about our road program from this year, which is going to total about $1.1 million should council pass this appropriation, including that. That road program is going to include some rehabilitation, some full depth repairs, and a good amount of road maintenance throughout some neighborhoods, as well as in the budget is tackling a fair amount of drainage this year. Also in the budget, we've got another plow truck, or a full-size plow truck in the budget, and that'll complement the 2 smaller plow trucks that council had passed as part of last year's final budget amendment. I think it was, wasn't it, Louis? And then also we've got improvements to Fire Station 2, some of the interior improvements. Looking forward to that. I know that many of those are much needed. Then a handful of smaller capital items. You know, going through this process with Lewis, you know, trying to find that balance to keep our roads from further deteriorating as best as we can. And, you know, with the plow truck that's much needed because that fleet is getting older. Fortunately, last year we were able to grab those two as a result of the higher income tax receipts that we had received last year. So toward the end of the year, as well as a couple of police cars. So we're definitely on a better trajectory in terms of capital, but I think it was well said in the meeting prior to this meeting, the finance meeting. You know, we are coming to a place here where, you know, as we get into next year, we're going to be looking at, you know, how much of that general fund supports the roads. Do we have to lessen that amount for roads and move more to capital? So it was a great point brought up in the previous meeting here today, and those are the things that we balance year in and year out. So with that, I guess I'm open to any questions.
Questions for the mayor? All right, thank you. Moving on, standing committee reports. Now, we're still on for March 1st next week, 6:30, correct, for utilities?
The Public Utilities Commission, yes.
Okay,
6:30, you say? Is that what it is?
that's what I have on here. Is that right? Okay. Yep. And in terms of correspondence, I guess there's two items
Also, just publicly, we'll host another Finance Committee meeting at 6 o'clock prior to the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Go over the budget.
Right,
Yeah.
right, yeah.
And also,
Thank you.
you want to do a service committee meeting pertaining to roads, or just combine? Joe, would you rather have an individual service committee for roads for maybe half an hour prior to the finance committee meeting, or would you just have to all?
Do we want to call them?
Not before the next meeting.
That's a public utilities, that's a commission, not a committee.
There you go. You want to do 6 o'clock then?
Yeah, in speaking with Doug walking out, he had felt that he could use 15 minutes, and Lewis felt that 45 minutes was more than sufficient, so.
Joe, would you do one beforehand then, a service pertaining to roads? So 5:30 then?
I think it was calling it a kind of a combined, see which, you know, take the, maybe
6 o'clock also? Okay.
take the first little bit, talk about road projects and road program, and then roll right into finance. Is that what you're thinking, Matt?
Yeah.
Denise, that would be a finance and a service committee meeting combined?
Beginning at 6 o'clock. Okay.
Thank you.
All right, so moving on to correspondence, there's two items I believe we need to address. One of them is at the Planning and Zoning Commission. They have gone ahead and there's maybe Mr. Lyle can help me with this, but for the park subdivision, there's I guess there's a road they've put in, and we have to, as council, I understand, accept their application for a zoning permit to dedicate the road?
Well, I don't think,
How does that work?
I don't think this is the application for the road dedication just yet. I think there's a lot that's looking to get the housing, like the permit for that.
That's
right?
correct. They have plans submitted for home construction on Parks Farm Road.
Okay.
The road is not dedicated yet.
Okay,
The code requires that any new home be on a dedicated street.
okay,
So they're asking for council's permission to construct the house on a non-dedicated street at this point, knowing that it's ultimately going to be dedicated.
Chief, does that pose a problem for you at all from the fire department? that they're gonna build a house on a road that's not dedicated yet? Does it have any bearing on you guys?
Sorry, the house back on Russellhurst Extension, the ones that go way back along the ball field. It's up to them and their insurance companies.
Yeah, and the fire hydrants are live. I mean, there's water in them, so that wouldn't be a problem.
Yes, fire hydrants are live and Aqua has accepted the installation of the water main.
So essentially, if council is okay with that, all we would need is a voice vote for the approval of that. And then I think there's a document that you could sign as council president, and then they could commence the construction, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how it was done in 2015 as well.
When might the dedication occur? It's just waiting for the final surface course, or what's outstanding?
No, there's a punch list that's outstanding. A lot of the stuff was work that they could not do in cold weather. So we're waiting for it to warm up. When they get that done, Joe and I will do another walkthrough and come to council with a recommendation.
Thank you.
Mr. Lau, is there any precedence that we would be setting by doing this, the future?
No, it's just requiring, again, council's approval if there's a road that's in the process of being dedicated back to the city, and just to get the homes started with the construction process. That's all it is. And as indicated previously, talking about precedents, this actually took place back in 2015 as well. So, and this is exactly how council dealt with it at that time.
I did drive down about a week or two ago. Hey, Doug, I did drive down about a week or so. It looks like most of the lots, it looks fantastic back there. Is that road complete then too?
Yeah, everything's complete. Most of the punch
Yeah, it looks
list items.
fantastic. I think, did they have all the lots sold?
Pardon?
I think they have most all the lots, it looked like, was sold just about over there.
Yeah, they've got quite a few sold.
We do this? Thank you.
Do we need a motion to do this, or?
Yeah, just.
Okay, yeah, so I have before me an application for a zoning permit, City of Kirtland. The names are kind of handwritten. Can you help me? Maybe your eyesight's a little bit better. Looks like David Martyr and Maria. Okay.
How about sublot 12?
Sublot 12. And so we're looking for basically a motion from council to go ahead and approve this application for zoning permit.
I motion to go ahead and approve that application for sublot 12 to allow that resident to begin the build of their property.
Okay.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Lowry, seconded by Councilman Smolik. Roll call.
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Scholes?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
I need some guidance on the next thing too. I understand that in terms of the, what do you call it, the comprehensive plan,
Correct.
it's been approved by P&Z, and now it's I don't know if is that going to be part of a resolution coming up, or how does that work?
What we should do now is schedule a public hearing to address or consider the approval of the comprehensive plan. And then at that point, if you don't have any recommended changes or anything after that, then there could be a resolution or a legislation to adopt that comprehensive plan. So, but I would first recommend council to set it for a public hearing at the next meeting.
So I want to acknowledge it because we did receive that today as part of correspondence. So you want us to go ahead and now set a public hearing on it at the next council meeting?
That is correct.
As part of that?
That is
next meeting?
correct.
Okay. So we can just put that on the agenda?
Yep.
All right. Thank you. All right. I would say public comments on matters not on the agenda. I don't know if I can. All right. I guess nobody really wanted to brave this great weather we're having tonight. All right. Old business, public comments on agenda items of old business. No? Okay. Ordinance number 23-0-3, third reading, an ordinance amending codified ordinance section 618.02 relating to dogs and other animals at large within the city of Kirtland and declaring an emergency.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Smolik, seconded by Councilman Fenstermaker. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on to new business, public comments on agenda items of new business. None. Resolution number 23-R-6, a resolution authorizing the city of Kirtland to opt in to the national opioid settlements with Teva, Allergan, I don't know, CVS, Walgreens, and Walmart, and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Motion to waive the 3 readings by Councilman Smolik, seconded by Councilman Schultz. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry? Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schultz. Was it Councilman Fenstermaker that seconded? Thank you. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry? Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Moving on, ordinance number 23-0-7, an ordinance authorizing all actions necessary to accept a capital improvement community park recreation conservation project pass-through grant agreement between the Ohio Department of Natural Resources and the city of Kirtland and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schultz to waive the 3 readings, seconded by Councilman Smolik. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Motion by Councilman Smolik, seconded by Councilman Lowry. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry? Yes. Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
All right, thank you. Resolution 23-R-8, a resolution confirming the reappointment of Christine Spees to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Board and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schultz to waive the 3 readings, seconded by Councilman Smolik. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry? Yes. Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Motion by Mr. Smolik, seconded by Mr. Lowry. Is there any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Thank you. Resolution number 23-R-9, resolution confirming the reappointment of Amy Buchanan to the Volunteer Firefighters Dependents Board and declaring an emergency.
Motion to waive the 3 readings.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Smolik, seconded by Councilman Schultz. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer?
Yes.
Mr. Lowry?
Yes.
Mr. Rupel?
Yes.
Mr. Schulz?
Yes.
Mr. Smolik?
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler?
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker?
Yes.
Motion to declare an emergency and adopt.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Schultz, seconded by Councilman Smolik. Any discussion? Hearing none, can you call the roll, please?
Mr. Hamer,
Yes.
Mr. Lowry,
Yes.
Mr. Rupo,
Yes.
Mr. Scholes,
Yes.
Mr. Smollett,
Yes.
Mr. Ziegler,
Yes.
Mr. Fenstermaker,
Yes.
All right, thank you. Ordinance number 23-0-10, an ordinance setting the appropriation for the year 2023. Resolution number 23-R-11, a resolution authorizing transfers of funds and declaring an emergency. Ordinance number 23-0-12, an ordinance providing for the issuance and sale of $3,102,000 of notes in anticipation of the issuance of bonds for the purpose of retiring together with other funds available to the city's outstanding various purpose notes, Series 2022, dated April 20th, 2022, and declaring an emergency. We're up to council comments. Any council comments this evening?
Just like to remind the community, I'd seen in the paper that Lake County Auditor Chris Galloway and Lake County, in conjunction with Lake County Treasurer Michael Zarin, will be hosting a How to Protect Yourself from Identity Theft and Fraud workshop right here in Kirtland at the library on March 13th. You need to call the library to register.
Might want to pass that on to Barbara and I, because I know she had questions. Might want to pass that on, or we could pass that on to Barbara and I. Remember, she was the citizen that had a complaint about her identity being stolen. Maybe she could be an advocate for it. I don't know.
Any other comments from council? All right, thank you. Any continuing concerns from the community? No? All right, we're up to adjournment. Looking for a motion?
So moved.
All right, motion by Councilman Schultz, a second.
Second.
Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.